Cattlemen and cattlewomen have blazed a trail to Phoenix for the start of the 2018 Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show. The convention signals a change in leadership for the NCBA. Nebraskan Craig Uden has served as president over the last year. I caught up with him earlier this week. I began our conversation by asking what Uden will remember the most about his year as president.
I will remember building a stronger state-national partnership and really going out in the country and elevating what our causes are and why we do what we do, strengthening the base. This is a grassroots organization. You know, we've had a lot of positive this week. We had a new administration. We didn't know how that was going to be. We decided to take the offense instead of the defense. Trade's been a huge issue for us, and we're going to continue to keep drumming that beat. We had some movement this week on North American Free Trade Agreement, where they're going to host 2 more meetings, so I think that's positive. You know, we got out of the TPP, so we've had a very successful year with Japan, but Japan moved along with TPP 11, so consequently we're going to stay at a 38% tariff and not enjoy that decreasing tariff. Today that does not really affect us. Long term it does. So we either have to find a pathway there for a bilateral or figure out a way to re-enter the TPP agreement. But nevertheless, a growing market over in Japan. South Korea has been a huge victory for us over the last 5 to 6 years. We were banned and weren't even into that market. Today it's a $1.2 billion market. US beef is the number 1 beef in South Korea, and Costco sells 100% U.S. beef, so that's a victory. Opening of China was wonderful, but we're going to crawl before we walk before we run, but it's still similar to South Korea. It's a very slow market to start, but the potential is really great over there with 350 million people in the middle class. It is not China as we remember China. So trade is big. $300 a head this year, 12% increase. Domestic demand is really good for our product. The high quality that we're producing out there is second to none. We're running somewhere between 79 and 80% choice and prime, with prime being 7 to 9%. Consequently, with all the research we do on safety and quality are 2 of the main drivers. Consequently, it's no surprise that beef is being consumed very well. We also have opportunity as we passed a tax package this year that we were behind on a lot of levels. We did not get everything we wanted. We would have liked some permanent legislation in there for particularly the estate tax, but when it puts money back in people's pocket, which it seems to be doing, those folks will spend that money, and there we are right there front and center. So we hope to capitalize that on some of the consumption on the domestic side. So rolling back regulations this year has been a huge issue. Okay, whether it be waters of the United States, overburdensome GIPSA rule, federal lands, we had the BLM 2.0 rule, which gave more control back to the state and local authorities and public lands. There was just a lot of wins, and this administration has been about rolling back regulations, 22 for every new one implemented. They rolled back 22. A lot of work still to be done, though. We've got undersecretaries to put in. Our own local Director of Agriculture for Nebraska, Greg Ibaugh, is one of the 2 undersecretaries, but we need 7, so there's 5 more that we have to put in there right now. So that needs to take place. We need a negotiator for agriculture with the USTR, and that's been held up, and we're going to continue to push on that because trade is so vitally important for agriculture. We have to have a Director of Trade on the trade team.
You mentioned NAFTA, and often in the news we hear frequently about dairy has their biggest concerns with NAFTA and making things more even across the board. Talk about the beef side and what you've talked about with the administration of why is it so important for beef?
It's a $1.8 billion between Canada and Mexico. Canada takes a lot of our high-end cuts, particularly in the Northeast where their high population areas are. They consume a lot of our product up there. Mexico takes a lot of our product that we normally won't consume or would consume at a lot lesser cost, okay? Inside rounds, flaps, oxtails, tripe, stuff like products that we don't normally consume in the U.S. or would take a pennies on the dollar type approach. So it adds a lot of value, bringing the bottom bottom end up, but also moving some of the excess high quality metals to the north. So it's about a $1.8 billion trade, and when it flows back and forth like that, it's open for business, and it really benefits the U.S. because we still are the largest producer of high-quality beef.
You mentioned being on the front lines of a lot of the conversations with the administration as well. I think you traveled to China with the beef shipments and helped with that opening of that market. How important is it for people to be involved with organizations like NCBA to have their voice heard on the national realm?
Well, it's really important to get involved and be. You have to understand the challenges before you can look at what the opportunities might be. With this administration, we've had the availability to work with a lot of these agencies. We've had direct working relationships with the Secretary of Agriculture, the Secretary of the EPA, the Secretary of the Interior. We've been working on the volatility of markets, so we've had direct access and working with the CFTC as far as market regulations and oversight, so that we have risk management tools out there that benefit the producers. So there's a whole host of things that we have not always had in the past, and it's just a sit-down visit. And when you have some access like that, and you can relate with those folks, we've got people in the White House that are representing trade, and we've built relationships there as well. So it's really highly positive to have relationships with other organizations as well as administrators with this administration to move our industry forward.
Craig, final thoughts from you as you wrap up your year of service?
It's been a wonderful year. Positive markets throughout the beef sector, which always helps, but really engaging and spending a lot of time throughout the United States with our producers and how they produce. It's very unique how every segment of the industry and every segment of the U.S. produces that product and gets it to a high-quality end product like beef in the center of the plate. So that's really rewarding. But everybody has the same thing: responsible beef production and producing a very high-quality product.
In Phoenix at the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, I'm Bryce Duskin.